And we are on air, everyone. Welcome to the On the Line podcast. I'm your host, Noel Alberto, with my co host, Oliver Dixon Jefford. Oliver, how are you doing today?
I am very well. How are you?
Good, wonderful weather here. Finally feels like spring here in the US. Not like winter, even though it's April. So enjoying the wonderful weather. But yes, Red Clay for the men have gotten started. We have Fed Cup for the women, and then a huge week this coming week. So plenty to talk about. And obviously, we got to have to talk about the first of possibly three Undecimas or 11th titles for Rafa Nadal as he rolls Kei Nishikori 6-3, 6-2 as we exactly predicted when we were chatting over the weekend. But yes, Rafa just looks in frightening form already in the first Masters of the clay court season.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's something like 30, I can't remember exactly, but it's 30 odd straight sets in a row now on clay. Don't think he's gone past 6-4 in any of them, or so he dropped more than 4 games in any of them. Only dropped 4 games in one set this week against Dimitrov in the semi-final. Then obviously won the second set 6-1. Yeah, just looking, it says 4 games, 9 games, 11 games, 16 games. 21 games dropped in the space of 5 matches is ridiculous. I think I counted that right. Yeah, looking really sharp. There were signs in Davis Cup. He played very well there. But yeah, he's timed his return perfectly. Obviously, didn't risk playing on the hard courts in Indian Wells and Miami to aggravate his injury problems. But yeah, looking really fit and already massive favourite for the French Open title once again.
I mean, yeah, he was likely the favorite even before this. When we were watching the Davis Cup last week, he looked like we said a little shaky against Kohlschreiber, but then picked it up and then really took it to Sasha Zverev, who he probably could have faced in the final had he not lost to Nishikori in that semis, and probably would have been a similar beatdown to what happened to Kei today. And we talked about yesterday, Nishikori had to nice to see him back, but kind of like the writing was already on the wall. He had 4 of his 5 matches go the distance and probably had to be exhausted, knowing he would be a huge underdog in this final.
Yeah, I mean, he had a fantastic week, and I think he's shot up to just outside the top 20. I think he's gone from 36th to 21st. So, excuse me a minute. Yeah, fantastic week for him. Like he said, a lot of tight matches. Maybe not quite back at his best in terms of sharpness, but he's certainly able to dig in. Obviously, came from a set down to beat Berdych in the opening round, and obviously, beat Marin Cilic as well and beat Sasha Zverev in the semi-final. Zverev is someone who's also not playing amazingly well, but over in Miami started to pick up some wins, picked up some good wins here as well. So that was a really big win for him. Obviously, Zverev, I think, well, number 4. So yeah, encouraging run. Obviously, there was very little he could do in the final. He did get a break early on, which was a little interesting. But obviously, no surprise to Nadal. He's through in the end, but Nishikori's picked up some good clay court results in the past. So yeah, it could be a danger on this surface.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was a former Madrid finalist. He hasn't won a Masters,
No, he hasn't won a Masters yet. No,
but he made a fair share of his Masters finals on clay, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was a few years ago. He was something like a setup against Nadal, maybe a set and a break, and then he went injured, and he ended up retiring in the 3rd set.
I believe that was in Madrid.
Yeah, I think that was maybe 2014, 2015.
Yeah, so somewhere. So Nishikori been pretty good on clay. So positive signs for him heading into Barcelona, and then obviously the 2 other Masters in Madrid and Rome. And so talked about having good weeks. You said Sasha. We talked about Kei. Obviously Rafa. Surprisingly, Grigor Dimitrov had a pretty good week. This by far his weakest surface, but to see him in a semifinal in a Masters has to be some encouraging signs for someone who hasn't played so well this year.
Yeah, he's had a rather indifferent start to the year. And he did have a tough... I mean, he dropped the first set 6-3 to Pierre-Hugues Herbert, who's a qualifier, which is a great start. And he dropped the first set to Kohlschreiber as well, but he came through each match. And then an impressive win against Goffin. Excuse me again. In the quarterfinal, obviously, Goffin is someone who's also not picked up many wins this year due to that unfortunate eye injury. But he is a better clay court of a Dimitrov naturally. So yeah, it's good run for him. Obviously, he could do very little against Nadal in the semi-final, which is no disgrace. Very few people can do that much against Rafa on clay. But yeah, I think obviously kind of the same with Nishikori, still maybe not quite his best, especially in his first 2 matches. But he found a way through, and yeah, he was impressive against Goffin. So encouraging signs.
Yeah, and then also we need to note that with Rafa's title here, it's his 31st Masters title, edging him 1 ahead of Djokovic for the most Masters titles ever.
Yeah, very impressive, and obviously got to be back to get 32 and 33 when it comes to Madrid and Rome as well. So
yes,
but he did lose in Rome last year to Team. His one loss at the clay court season.
Yeah,
so he might seem to have one slight little slip up.
Yeah. Do you think he goes undefeated this year on clay?
I'm going to say no. I mean, he's playing very impressively, but I think there's a chance he will slip up somewhere. Like last year, he was playing very well, and everyone was saying after Monte Carlo, he's not going to lose. But obviously, he lost that match to Team, and he did not play amazingly well, and sometimes that happens. So I can imagine somewhere. I mean, I would be really surprised if he loses at the French Open, because obviously best of 5, having won that title so many times is like just built up a real aura there. But I think obviously he's got Barcelona this coming week. He has Madrid and Rome after that. I can imagine somewhere he might have one bad match and someone could take advantage of it. But it would need to be someone who's strong in clay.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I think it honestly might be in Rome again. I think there's just him, obviously in Barcelona, a 10-time champion, and then in Spain, in Madrid, just being in Spain already has a huge advantage. I think he'll be in Rome.
Yeah, I think that's likely because obviously he's going to have had a few clay court seasons, tournaments even coming in, obviously, which is just a week before French Open's coming up. He won't want to overexert himself. No one will.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably the most likely place. But I mean, he could go unbeaten. Who knows? But I think it's unlikely. We'll have to see.
All right, now we move on to some Fed Cup action. So we have the semifinal ties in the World Group stage, and we have our final is set. We will have a massive power showdown in the final as Czech Republic strolls by Germany 4-1, and then the United States go away. So both teams won on the road. So Czech Republic won in Germany, the United States won in France, and so it'll be the U.S. versus Czech Republic in the finals. So Petra Kvitova looked very good, 6-2 against Angelique Kerber, 6-3, 6-2 against Julia Gergis, and then we had France's one win came from Kristina Mladenovic, but then she got rolled by Sloane Stephens. The Madison Keys capped off the tie today with a 7-6, 6-4 win. So anything to say about this potential Fed Cup final? Or this Fed Cup final, yeah.
It's a long way off, yeah, but obviously it's a big one. Obviously, America defending champions versus the Czech Republic, who were the dominant force in the recent years.
Yeah, the dynasty.
Yeah, I think this is their 6th final in the past 8 years, and they've won all those 6 finals they've reached. Obviously, these two faced off, I think, in the quarterfinals last year, or the semi-finals maybe.
Semi-finals.
Obviously, the Czech Republic had a weaker squad then, so it's fully advantage America. But yeah, I think it's exciting. I mean, especially if Serena and or Venus show up as well, could be great. I mean, obviously, yeah, I think most impressive player in the semi-finals is certainly Kvitova. I mean, against Julia Gergis, who's a strong clay court player, 3-2, and then against Kerber, who has been in very solid form this year, 2-2, is really impressive. And she actually faces Kerber in the opening round of Stuttgart coming up. So give her
actually played in Stuttgart, actually, in this Germany Czech Republic tie.
Yeah, so I've been playing on that exact same court in a few days' time. And yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, Stephens as well, obviously, finally picked up some form in Miami and obviously won a title there. I mean, yeah, that win against Mladenovic today, 2-0, probably the most single impressive match in terms of performance level from one player in these semi-finals. Yes, very impressive on the surface, where she has had success before, so she might be building up a good run in coming through the clay season. But yeah, it's gonna should hopefully be an exciting final. Like I mentioned, long way off yet, but it'll be interesting to see how it builds up throughout the season.
Yeah, you mentioned that Sloane Stephens win. So obviously now she has, no points to defend up until like Wimbledon, City Open, and then the summer. So that win could really boost her confidence heading into the red clay. It's not like she's a bad clay. She's made a few fourth rounds at the French Open. So this could really get her going and really get her ranking maybe top 5, maybe top 3 if she really does well.
Yeah, I mean, she's had a really stark turnaround from the form she showed post-US Open, where she really struggled. I think it was all about belief because she has the game to thrive on all surfaces, including clay. I mean, as you mentioned, strong French Open performer. I think she reached the 4th round 4 years in a row.
Yes, 2012 to 15.
Yeah. I mean, like, she lost to Serena one year, nearly won that match. So obviously no disgrace. She beat Venus in the first round one year. So yeah, she's a very solid performer there, and I think can be a solid performer in clay, can go deep, and obviously the tour's still fairly open. She's got a shot, and I think that result, and her first win against Parmentier, not that one-sided, very tight, 6-5. But yeah, that'll give her, the whole weekend will give her confidence, I think.
Yeah, so yeah, huge final. Like Oliver said, a long way ahead of us, but then some other Fed Cup action. We had the World Group 2 playoff again between, and then also the World Group playoffs that also took place this week. So in the World Group playoffs, so joining the World Group will be Belarus, Romania, Australia, and Belgium. So most of these ties, bar the Belarus one, pretty straightforward. I mean, Belarus didn't have their A squad, obviously, no Azarenka in this one, but they got by, led by Arina Sabalenka. And then Simona Halep led the Romania squad. First match tight against Victoria Golubic, but gets through. Australia, easy against the Netherlands. Netherlands didn't have Bertens or Rachel Hogenkamp, so, but still, in this Australia-Netherlands tie, Sam Stosur with a a worrying loss against Leslie Kerkove, who is her highest career ranking is 152nd. So Stosur looks like the end of the road is near for Big Sam.
Unfortunately, yeah, she's out of the top 50 for the first time in a long time. That came early this season. And, she struggled with injury last year. I think she missed Wimbledon and the US Open in the end. So, yeah, Rafa, she lost a lot of points there, but it's kind of hard to see her really working her way back up. You can't really tell, though, really. But, yeah, I mean, it didn't really matter. Australia, safety theory, they won the rest of the ties.
Yeah.
Barty won both of them straight sets. Obviously, Gavrilova won. Yeah. And good to see Destiny Iova in action there as well in the doubles, even if it was a dead rubber.
Yeah. And then Belgium sweeps Italy. I mean, they didn't play one tie, but 4-0. Easy for Belgium, as we have it'll be a fun next 2019 World Group, especially if Azarenka will be back into the fray. And then World Group 2 playoffs, Latvia edges Russia 3-2. It was over after the 4th singles rubber. Sevastova took out Makarova and made the 5th rubber, the doubles rubber, a dead rubber for the Russians to win. Spain back into World Group 2. It looks like Canada, Ukraine are still in action because ties taking place in Canada. And then Japan takes out Great Britain in the deciding doubles rubber over here. Oliver. So Miyu Kato and Makoto Miya defeat Kanta and Watson in that fifth rubber.
Yeah, I think that's a bad loss. I mean, I think considering how well Naomi Osaka's been playing, I think Britain were slight underdogs. But once Kanta got that really convincing win and two impressive wins for her this weekend, I think we should have possibly made it through. But I think it was the wrong call to play Heather Watson. She hasn't picked up many wins of late. And I think Karumi Nara has also been struggling. We got two British women. I think one of them was Katie Bolter, have beaten Nara recently, who is in the squad. So maybe that was the wrong call there, unfortunately. And I think this is the fourth time in 7 years we've lost at this stage. So it's quite rough. I have hopes it will come soon, that we'll get back into the World Group 2 and hopefully push on. But I think it must be very disheartening for the British squad and also the other squads as well. I mean, Russia down into the out of it as well. That's rough, considering they were in the final a few years ago and they've got lots of great players.
Yeah, I mean, you said. So who else was in that Britain squad that you think probably could have played instead of Heather Watson?
Well, I remember Katie Bolter's in there. I think she was our third singles player. So I know she's beaten Nara recently. I've seen. I saw that on Twitter earlier. A lot of people unhappy with Anne Kierfeng's choice there, which is debatable. Obviously, Watson has more experience at this level.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to call what was the right call or not. Obviously, home advantage probably helped Nara as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to call what we're doing right decision. But yeah, I mean, that was a poor doubles loss. I mean, obviously, Watson.
Yeah, they're up a set too.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a shame. Obviously, we have kind of what is it? We have a strong doubles player. I can't remember her name's gone. Anna
Smith.
Anna Smith. Yeah, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, so when the fact she didn't play is a bit of a strange choice as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they'll try again next year, and obviously it's not the end of the world. It's just tennis in a day, but it must be disheartening for them to come so close a couple of years. Obviously, last year's all the controversy in the Romanian tie. So, we'll see next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be tight, whatever. There's so many good nations that they could potentially face, and maybe having a home tie would help. We haven't had a home tie since the early 90s in the Fed Cup.
Oh, really? So yeah, it's been quite a while. So we now move on to preview some of this week's tournaments, and a lot of big names in action. So we have 9 of the top 10 women in action. We have obviously Nadal, Djokovic, Thiem, Nishikori, and Dimitrov all in action as well. So we're going to start in Stuttgart, where 8 of the top 10 women are here. All of them seeded, actually. So we have Simona Halep with a bye, along with she's drawn with Svitolina in the same half. The other half is Jelena Ostapenko, Garbina Muguruza. And so what could be a tasty second-round matchup if she gets by would be Dasha Kasatkina against Simona Halep, and then potentially Julia Gergis and Sevastova against Svitolina. So already some tasty first-rounders. And then obviously also in this half, Maria Sharapova and Caroline Garcia.
Yeah, that top half is
loaded.
Yeah. I mean, the whole draw's loaded, obviously, the top 10 in there. Obviously, only Wozniacki and Venus not at this tournament in terms of the top 10. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a Halep and Svitolina are two very good clay court players. Obviously, they had that quarter-final match last year, which Svitolina so easily won decisively, only to lose. So obviously, they both play very well in clay. Svitolina's reached 2 quarter-finals there. Obviously, Halep's twice a finalist. So I think instinct says Halep will come through here, but obviously it's not easy. I mean, could have Sloane Stevens in the quarter-finals. She starts against Van der Wey. That's a match she should win, but still an all-American clash. Could be interesting. Shishkova and defending champion Siegemund as well there. So yeah, it's very tight, and interested to see what happens in the Sharapova Garcia clash. neither of them having fantastic 2018 so far.
No.
But kind of different reasons. Obviously, Sharapova's still struggling with injury. I think a little bit just not playing at her best. And obviously, this is the anniversary of her comeback this time last year. Obviously, it's risen up the rankings. I think she's around 40th now or whatever. But obviously, maybe hasn't pressed on quite as far as many thought. So we'll see. Obviously, Garcia not showing that end of season form either. So yeah, I think Svitolina is the safe bet for the semi-finals coming from here. Assuming she comes through that opening round match against Gurgis or Sevastova, which I think she should, because I think Gurgis has kind of had a little dip in form. So yeah. I think it probably will go with the seedings in terms of the semi-finals.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I don't see there could be surprises because obviously so many top players in this, but I feel that Svitolina and Halep are probably just going to be too good in the end for some of these other players. And then the bottom half, like we said, loaded draw, but I feel like this bottom half isn't as loaded in terms of clay quarters compared to the top half. So obviously Ostapenko and Muguruza defend former French Open champions. Mladenovic, obviously she plays well on clay. Kvitova just rolled Kerber, their first round matchup. Carlos Suarez, Karolina Pliskova, don't even think of her to be an excellent clay court player, but she had a very nice run at the French Open last year. And then Carlos Suarez and Navarro. So this could go seeds, but I'm feeling there could be a surprise here.
Well, I mean, obviously you talk about Pliskova. She comes up against Kiki Bertens, who is, I think, third on the clay court power rankings in the WTA release. So she's a huge factor here as well. She won Charleston the other week. Obviously, former French Open semi-finalist, has won Nuremberg before. So I think she's a real danger here, especially if Pliskova is not quite on her game. Obviously, she's better on clay now, but still not perfect. So, yeah. And obviously, this bottom section, I mean, you've got Kvitova, Kerber, Mladenovic, Kontaveit, and then Keys versus Pavlyuchenkova, and the winner that's plays Muguruza, which is tough to call. I mean, obviously, based on the part of the Fed Cup this weekend, Kvitova is in great form. Obviously, won back-to-back titles as well early on this season. So I think she's got a real chance, but she can struggle with clay. Obviously, Stuttgart is where the Fed Cup was. So conditions-wise, she should be fine. But she thinks she's susceptible, maybe. If she puts in a bad match, we know she can do that. So I think it's hard. I think I'm going to probably still pick her to reach the semis, though. I think she's in the best form of anyone there. And but that top half and the bottom half is why it's a really hard one to call.
I might lean Ostapenko, like, because she thinks she's playing a lot. She's playing better than she did at post to start the year. I think she should be fine. The qualifier in her first round, and then potentially, one of those people like Pliskova, Bertens. I'd like to say Ostapenko, but I could also see Kiki Bertens get through.
Yeah, I think obviously the Kiki Bertens is obviously in her favourite part of the season. Not quite sure how she does indoors, but yeah, I think she's obviously very comfortable on clay overall. So yeah, I think I'd probably plump for Ostapenko. Obviously got the advantage of a first round bye, then only a qualifier after that. So I'd say maybe Kvitova Ostapenko semi-final.
So you're going Kvitova, Ostapenko, and then you're going chalk in the top half. So who do you have taking the title if you had to pick one?
I would probably have. I think I would say Halep is my instinct. I know it's a bit obvious as she's top seed, but she's my instinct.
Yeah, I would go either Halep or Svitolina. My winner is would have to come from the top half for me, I think.
I think with Simone, I think she'll obviously be so determined to win that elusive slam this year. I think she'll be wanted to get off to a fantastic start.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, had a tight first match in the Fed Cup against Golubic. Obviously, didn't play well in that second set, and then wouldn't have been tested much against Patty Schneider.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she'll be looking to fine-tune her game, and I think she should be able to do that because it's a field that will test her, but she has the capabilities to beat everyone on her day.
Yep. It's So now the other WTA tournament, a bit smaller but still decent, very good field, is in Istanbul. So Alina Svitolina was a defending champion, choosing to compete in Stuttgart this time. But they have another top player, Australian Open champion. Her name's Caroline Wozniacki. So there's the 9th of the top 10 that's in this, and then second seed here, Svetlana Kuznetsova, who's still recently just came back from injury, trying to really get things going. But I feel Wozniacki is not really the best clay court player. Do you think this could be a chance for someone to make a nice run or maybe steal a title here?
I think it's hard to. I mean, Wozniacki, she's much stronger and hard, but she's won the title here before. She's been a finalist in Stuttgart at least once, and she reached the quarterfinals at the French Open last year. So she doesn't hate it. I think she has to be the heavy favourite. I mean, has had a slight little dip in form since the Australian Open title. Obviously, hasn't played awfully, but obviously hasn't won any further titles. I think she does have to be the favourite. But I mean, there is some openings. I mean, because Kuznetsova could find some form. I mean, Sabalenka's having a real breakthrough over the past 12 months. She's in here as well. Begu had a good Fed Cup weekend and has had success on clay before. So there's a few in there. Sestaya is Wozniacki's quarterfinal opponent. Sestaya is a pretty solid clay quarter, so she's in with a shout. But I think Wozniacki should and will win the title.
Yeah, I mean, she's going down to Sarah Irani. No, I'm kidding. I mean, that's very much a possibility. But yeah, I mean, this draw is set up for Wozniacki just to win, just like how last year draw was set up for Svitolina to really go through this one. So I feel that you're right in that case, that Wozniacki is going to be the heavy favorite to take this title. And now onto the men. Barcelona, 16 seeds, all given buys, and obviously the man with the one next to his name and hopes to have 2 ones next to his name after Barcelona is Rafael Nadal. And then, man, if you're Kei Nishikori and Novak Djokovic, you got to be wondering who makes these draws, because they're drawn with him again. Nishikori, potential third-round opponent for Rafa. Djokovic, potential quarterfinal opponent. Gonna have to be very upsetting to see that in your draw, knowing how the King of Clay is playing.
Yeah, it's not ideal for them. I mean, I've seen a few people say that's not a nice draw for Rafa, and it's like, yeah, that'd be the case if this was maybe hardcourt, but this is clay. I mean, and he's won the title 10 times, so it's not the easiest choice, but he should be fine. I mean, he's looked great. Like we mentioned earlier, on 30 odd straight sets, he won on clay. So yeah, I mean, he should. I mean, obviously we both discussed. We think he might lose once in this clay court season, but at the same time, you wouldn't bet against him, and I think he's obviously a huge favourite to win here. It'd be interesting to see how Nishikori fares if they do play again, see if he can get closer. Be interesting to see if Djokovic is able to face him and try and fine-tune his game, but it's hard to see him beating Rafa, even if he does have a little pickup in form.
Yeah, Djokovic really trying to find that form. That's why he took the wild card here. Do you see anyone but there we go. So obviously you see Nadal in the first quarter, but who else do you see coming into the quarters to face Rafa from this first section? Novak?
I think it'll probably be the Djokovic and Nadal quarterfinal, yeah. But yeah, because Lopez is not amazing clay quarter despite being Spanish. So I think it'll be Nadal beating Djokovic in this quarterfinal.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And then they'll close that head-to-head word. I believe that's one of Rafa's very few losing head-to-heads.
Mm.
And then second section of this top half, so probably the favorite in this section has to be David Goffin, the 4 seed. But have Bautista Agut looming as the 8 seed, Chen Chung at the 9, and then Hachinov at the 16, and then also Leo Mayer. Also in this section, Tommy Robredo taking a wild card. So I do feel it'll be Goffin to get out of this one.
I think he's the strongest clay quarter, but there's a lot of dangers. I mean, Kachanov, not an easy opponent to face. Bautista Agut is one of only 3 people to have won 2 titles on tour this year. So he's in solid form, has played well on clay. So I think just like the top section, this section will also go with the seedings in terms of the quarterfinalists as Goffin versus Bautista Agut. I would lean towards Goffin like you.
Yeah. All right. We move on to the bottom half now. So we have Diego Schwartzman, Dominic Thiem, Verdasco, Ramos, Vignola. So could be tricky. I mean, Thiem should get by. He'll face Jaime Munar and Chao Souza, but potentially a tricky one against Verdasco if those two get there into the 3rd round. But I feel if Thiem, like we talked about before, if Thiem's not 100%, I think Diego Schwartzman could be the one to get out of this quarter.
Yeah, I mean, Schwartzman was a little bit below his best in Monte Carlo. He struggled in this first round against Guido Pella, was bageled in the first set and came through and lost the Gasquet match. He probably should have won. But I think if Thiem is not 100%, which I don't think he is, and that begs the question, why is he playing?
Because Thiem he loves to play.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a finalist as well last year, so he's got some points to defend.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not an easy draw for him. I mean, probably Joao Souza in the first round, someone who could cause some trouble, and likely going to be Verdasco after that, and then on paper, Schwartzman, yeah. So it's not an easy draw, and I'm leaning towards Schwartzman slightly. I'm not quite sure why, because obviously his team is playing well and is fit, he'll probably come through.
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking Diego.
I know, everyone just loves Diego. That's who doesn't love the little man?
Mm.
And then bottom section of the bottom half. So you have Carreño Busta, Adrian Manarino, Andre Rublev, and then second seeded Grigor Dimitrov. But then some other players to Nicolas Chiari, obviously a favorite of one of our cohorts, James. He's very good in the South American clay swing. Nicolas Chiari takes on Benoit Paire first. Pablo Cuevas, very successful clay player. Then Tennis Sangre, Malik Desiri, Kohlschreiber, Gilles Simon. This is the open section, I believe.
Yeah, I think it is. Dimitrov obviously encouraging one in Monte Carlo, but I still think a little off his best. Not an easy first round against either Kohlschreiber or Simon. Carreño Busta obviously withdrew from Monte Carlo. It's been obviously had a good run to the semi-final in Miami, but a little bit up and down before that. And obviously this is not he tends to play slightly better in the bigger tournaments, the Masters and the Slams. Obviously this is not one of them. So I think there is an opening. I think obviously Rublev's got a chance. Obviously you mentioned there's a few underdogs here. I'm going to still stick fairly safe and go for Carreño Busta to reach the last 4. But I think this is the chance that there will be likely to be a few more upsets.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Rublev or maybe maybe Kohlschreiber go on a nice run here, someone like that. But yeah, I'll stick with Carreño Busta. So our semifinals, our predicted semifinals are Nadal, Goffin, Schwartzman, Carreño Busta, and I think we both know who we have as a winner, but who do we have facing in the final?
I'm going to go for an all-Spanish final.
I want to go Schwartzman, but yes, to each their own. And then the last tournament to go through is in Hungary, in Budapest, where Luca Pouille, defending champion, and we know how Pouille loves to get up for these 250s, and here he is, top seed in the 250. will face either John Millman or Adu Albot in his opening match, but then his potential semifinal opponent will be countryman Richard Gasquet. But then we also, in the bottom half, we have Denis Shapovalov and Damir Zhumer. So what do you make of this draw? I feel like Puig should be the favorite. Probably should be the one who ends up winning, but feel someone could make a nice run. I feel like Struy, he played very well on the clay during the Davis Cup. He could make a nice run. We have Lorenzi, very established clay player. So Fuchsovic, 60. So what do you make of this draw?
I mean, it's a fairly open draw, but I agree. I think Puig has to be the favourite. Obviously, defending champion. Could in the semi-final face either Gasquet or Bedene, which was the final last year. Puig beat Bedene. But obviously, Gasquet played well in Monte Carlo. Obviously, nearly beat Zverev. Obviously, beat Schwartzman. So a slight pick up in form from him. And I think he could be dangerous here. I mean, look at the bottom half. Not quite sure clay is the surface for Shapovalov yet. Obviously, Zum has picked up a few titles over the past 6 months or so. 6-8 months now. So I think he's a potential contender as well. But I'm leaning towards Puig. If he's playing at about 90%, he should have enough to win the title.
Yeah, I feel. Wait, who'd you say you kind of like just cut off really quickly? What you said, who you wanted to win or who you predicted to win?
I think Lucas Puig.
Yeah, I feel he just plays a lot better at these smaller tournaments than he does in the slams. Sadly, he'll find it, but yes, I feel he should be the favorite, and I believe he should win. So now that is the end of our pod. But first, social media. Oliver, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at OliverDJ1998.
You can find me at not first Noel. You can find the Twitter at the podcast Twitter at On the Line Pod, and then you can find both of us writing for Babel USA. We'd like to thank Tennis Plaza for sponsoring this podcast, and we hope you all have a very nice day.